4:30 on Raider Nation Radio 920. Ready to go bowling? Bowl games this week, Tuesday through next Monday.
Hey. All right. Let's get locked in. Big night tonight in Vegas. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Monday. Plug in the equipment. Yes. Yeah, we're working. Everybody hear me all right? Big D, you hear the microphone? Check 1, 2, 3. Big D, remember when we used to go to Monday Night Football in Oakland? Those were good times. Rough sledding here tonight in Vegas. No Mad Max. All right. Buffalo beat Detroit. Philly beat Pittsburgh. Kansas City won. Mahomes. Everything I'm going to get to. Everything. I'm going to send out this link. If everybody can send out this link, I'd appreciate it. Not hard to do. You just send it out. It's the share button, right? There it is.
Would you like to become an educated sports fan that also knows how to place a bet? How about a library of how games are played, how to make bets, and hot picks of the day? Join me at betmoneyhoney.com.
Betmoneyhoney.com. What is that?
Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1925.
All right, man. What's happening? Get that chat going. Bobby's here. I'm here. We're only doing 1 hour. And then Q Myers is going to take over locally, and I'm going to head to the stadium and be on the pregame show at 3:30. So we'll go from that. Big D, I don't recall anything just yet. I'll double check and get back to you. All about...
Holidays are a time to cherish what truly matters. Family and friends. The Richard Harris Law Firm would like to wish everyone...
What's going on, Bobby? Let's just rip the roof off. You got some NFL sound.
The Richard Harris Law Firm, just in case.
Chickies and Pete's. All right, who's in here today? Messy Jesse. Let's go Raider Nation, the fluffer. Yeah, Max shutting it down. He's not shutting down. He's getting surgery, so I'm all for that. If you're injured and you can't play and you could further injure yourself, you got to shut it down, period. Baseball with a pitcher's arm. Hockey player, right, like Mark Stone shuts it down every year. If you can't go, you can't go. You never hear me bitch and moan about injuries. If you're hurt, you can't go. No AOC. Desmond Ritter.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio.
Raiders bring a blitz. He takes it off the middle, and he's wrapped up from behind. Max Crosby.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 20 years.
Open at the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT, a special edition short show today, 1 hour, as I head down to Allegiant Stadium after the show to anchor the Raiders pregame show. So we got a big long night in front of me, long night. I'm the last one out of there. Even the people in the nightclub after the game, I leave after them. So yeah, late night tonight on a Monday, and it's our only Monday night football game all year long in Vegas. Those scoundrels didn't give us another primetime game until we got December 16th. Really? Really? Well, hey, maybe they got it right. Raiders only won 2 games this year. Don't look like, a lot of fans don't think they're going to win another one. But I go into every game expecting excitement, passion, energy. You'll get Desmond Ridder tonight, according to Adam Schefter. We'll wait for the inactives to come out there. I don't think you want to play Aiden O'Connell under any circumstance if he's injured or hurt or a combination of both. And I begin the monologue with Mad Max Crosby now shutting it down for the year to get surgery. That's brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue. 5 to 7, midnight to 2. Great place to watch the game tonight. If you don't have a plan tonight, I always say when I lead off the show, PTs will house you. You can have great food. You can have half-price beverages from 5 to 7 and have a great time there. Bring your friends out. And listen, it's Monday Night Football tonight. Remember, I have the misery index. I have my life, which is great. And then I have sports, which is always typically great because it's not as important as life. But every once in a while, you get pretty upset about what's happening in your sports world. My Yankees made it to the World Series and lost on a walk-off grand slam in Game 1. That hurt. Raiders only have 2 wins this year. That hurts a lot. So I'm ready for the year to end, Bobby. I said that. I'm ready for the year to end. And it was a pretty good year. My wife's healthy. My kids are healthy. My son's about to graduate college next year at ASU. They won the Big 12. That's really cool. And I'm going to Monday Night Football tonight. And how big of an honor is that for me to sit at the torch with Eric Allen and do a 90-minute pregame show and have all these guests on and alumni and then go on the field with a live microphone. Remember, I was doing that. We were 2-2 with the live microphone. Hey, let's send Cleveland home with a loss and all that. And now I don't know what they have me doing tonight, but maybe it'll be a Desmond Ridder hype machine. Remember, I'm the same guy that hyped Matt McGloin on the McGloin train when he was our only choice. The car went down. We had to get on the McGloin train. Now it's Desmond Ridder. But Max Crosby's a friend, and I met Max when he signed with the Raiders, and I instantly saw greatness in him. I was one of many. Not many people around the league knew who he was. Had no idea who he was. But when he came to the Oakland Raiders, and I was around the team in training camp, a bunch of coaches came up to me and said, watch this guy. I go, yeah, tell me about him. Well, he's the first one in, last one out. And he's not a 4th-round pick. This guy's going to be insane. And the coaches who are no longer here, pretty much all of them, who ended up drafting him, brought in a gem. I believe he's a future Gold Jacket Hall of Famer. He's the face of the franchise, and he can no longer play anywhere near his level of excellence, so he's going to have ankle surgery, and we wish Max well. I'd like to do the hour on Max, if you don't mind, because it's not a funeral. It's not a goodbye. It's not see you next year at all. But I think my job is to do the right radio show, and I think today's show should be an hour of Max Crosby and thanking him for everything he does for us here, everything he does for the organization. Again, he's the best player on the team. He's a leader. He's a captain. He acts like a captain. And I think on the flagship station that Max listens to, I know he listens and streams my show, that we should do something nice for Max and at least thank him, wish him well. Because that's what everything's about now, man, wishing people well. There's going to be players and coaches and people that don't come back. You wish them well. It happens to everybody in life. And what you do is you say, thank you for trying to give it your best effort. It didn't work. For Max, there's a big picture here. If this was the playoffs and the Raiders had 8 or 9 wins like Denver and the Chargers, don't get me going there, Max would be playing. Max would tape it up. Max would go out there. He'd probably be about 60, 70%. He'd still be a game wrecker. But we need Max on this team. And we need Max to be here coming off surgery well ahead of schedule and ready to play and to wreak havoc again next year. See, I don't do next year radio on a Monday. I don't. It's not my strength. I don't do woulda, shoulda, coulda. I don't do that. I don't do draft talk in December. I do that in March and April. But for Max Crosby, I understand what's going on. I texted him. He got back to me, and he appreciates everything from the fans. He really does. And he put out a beautiful Instagram post that went viral all over social media on why he's not going to play the rest of the year. And he's been playing with a high ankle sprain since the Baltimore game. Pretty good game that the Raiders won. That was their signature win of the year, was Baltimore. And for Max, we just want him to be 100%. Because there's no need for Max to be around long term if a team can't win more than 2 or 3 games. Everybody would admit that. So the Raiders are going to have to do something really dramatic in the offseason. They're going to have to get Max help at an alarming rate. they're going to have to get a quarterback. They got to get a running back, another wide receiver, another linebacker, another offensive lineman. Whatever it is, they're going to need a lot. And the Raiders are capable of doing that because the league is also doing that. The Raiders are not the only team that is in these tough times here and need a big draft and need a big free agency class. 2-3 years ago, before the Josh McDaniel hire and now before Antonio Pierce took over from interim head coach, I didn't think the Raiders needed a lot. They needed some good players to come in because at one point we had Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. I'm looking around going, those are pretty good guys, and they're going to be here a while. Josh Jacobs, and they're all gone. So now we got to replace those guys. There's some good guys on the team, but the Raiders need star power, and Max Crosby's their biggest star. Devontae Adams didn't want to be here anymore. Okay, that's his choice. Matter of fact, Devontae had a massive game yesterday. A really classic Devontae game, but on a team that's just a little bit in the schedule better than the Raiders, and that didn't work out for him well. So for Max, I think it's important that, and I know the communication is very strong with Mark Davis and Max Crosby, very strong with Antonio Pierce and Max Crosby. This organization understands the importance of Max. When there was a bunch of fake news and people talking about the trade deadline, move him to Detroit. He's from that area. Move him to Detroit. I'm like, are we dealing? How many stupid people can there be on the social media? He's not going anywhere. But the Raiders now have an obligation to Max because Max gives his life and career to the Raiders to get better. So it's going to be tough. I mean, I've never hosted a pregame show ever where I had this feeling going into it with no Max Crosby. Look, we know what's on the wall. We know the record. We know the draft pick, where it stands today. I know where all you are coming from. I'm just telling you, go have a good time tonight, period. If that means you're going to spend time in your seats with your seat neighbors, if you're going to be in the club, if you're going to be at the bar, if you're going to be tailgating. I'm going early tonight to tailgate. I'm going to go to Modelo. I'm going to get to the tailgates early. I'm leaving here at 1. I'm going to be on the air at 3:30, 20 minutes to get down there. So I want to tailgate a little bit and see some friends and hopefully have a good day. But I'd like to hear from you on Max Crosby, because what the hell you want me to do the next 4 months? If I don't get a Max Crosby day out of this, when am I going to get one? Right? I'm not going to save Max Crosby to Thursday of this week. I'll take your calls on it, but today's the breaking news. We don't have Max for Monday Night Football. And that kind of sucks. But I agree 100% with his decision in the organization to go get that surgery, come out of it healing well. I mean, last year he was banged up a lot more than you knew. I knew it. A couple of people knew it who know Max. Max played last year. He was banged up and had an unbelievable year, but you could tell he was hobbled down the stretch. And he's just got to get right. We saw what happened with Colton Miller's surgery. Colton Miller hasn't been the same since his surgery, nowhere near the same. And hopefully that surgery healing this one more off season can kind of get him back on his trajectory of being a great player in this organization. He already is a very good player here, but we got to get him into some Pro Bowls. I mean, this organization had Art Shell and Gene Upshaw. It's had Lincoln Kennedy going to Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl. We got to get that going for Colton Miller. So also another topic as we open up the show. What is your expectations for tonight? And leave the losing clowns out of it. I know I don't want to take your calls on. My goal is to lose. Just type that, and be anonymous, be an eggshell, and just type that if you want to do that. But really what your expectations are tonight, mine are simply Brock Bowers. Get him the ball overtime, force feed him, make it obvious. He's going to be double teamed. Atlanta needs to win this game desperately because Tampa Bay, you see what Tampa Bay did to the Chargers? I golfed yesterday with my buddy J.O.D., lost my Ryder Cup match, final match of the year. Great match, and I'm coming home and I'm listening to the Charger game against the Buccaneers on the radio here in Vegas. And before the time I left Spanish Trail and got my driveway, which is about 10 minutes, it felt like Tampa Bay scored 100 on the Chargers. They blew them out of the water. And Atlanta's chasing Tampa Bay. So Atlanta needs this game tonight, and they are going to look to step on the throats of the Raiders. So the Raiders have young defensive backs. Trayvon Merrick's young. He's playing well. The Raiders are going to have a pass rush. As you look at the pass rush, Chase on, who they're going to bring, what is Patrick Graham going to dial up? Robert Spillane's trying to get in the Pro Bowl. I think he's a worthy participant. Nate Hobbs coming back. These guys aren't going to quit. They're putting all their ability on tape. They're not going to lay off a guy. They're not going to tackle lesser. I just don't know what to expect. Normally, I have a decent idea. And then you got Desmond Ridder at quarterback. He's going to want to do well. You might not want to win this game, Raider Nation. This guy does. There's a good chance Desmond Ridder will not be here next year. A good chance. And if he's not here, you don't think this guy wants to throw for 300 yards and get Brock Bowers 9 receptions for 110 and 2 touchdowns? It's a big point. Desmond Ridder ain't tanking tonight, I can tell you that. Now, he might not win the game, but this game's everything for him. It's like the biggest game of his life. It is. He's playing quarterback on Monday Night Football. It's like a rock concert going on, fireworks, Vegas. This guy's going to come out ready to play. And I'll tell you another guy who's going to play his ass off, Sincere McCormick, the running back. He's going to go out there and really play hard because he's trying to make this team next year and not one of these practice squad guys. You know, my wise ass remark, I always say, this is not the show of the practice squad. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, you better believe it. This show has evolved into the show of the practice squad because everyone from the practice squad is playing and some of those guys are getting hurt and they're not even available. So Tom Telesco, I think, is looking at everything going, timeout. We're not going crazy. Trade deadline. We got rid of Devontae. Devontae did not want to be here. Tom got a 3rd-round pick. He didn't move important people that are going to be here. He's got to sign some people in the offseason who are on the roster, you would think. Then he's going to have to be very active in free agency because Tom doesn't want to be the GM of a 2-win team for long, nor would Antonio Pierce. So as you look at the big picture going forward, everybody needs to spend some free agent money on the right players, and everybody's got to draft well. It's hard to do. It's called threading the needle. Very difficult to do that. You know who does that? Philadelphia does that. Philadelphia gets Saquon Barkley. They draft well. They keep their veterans and re-sign them. They have an elite quarterback, or I think Jalen Hurts is elite. He's pretty good. And that's why they're a 12-win team, because they're doing everything right. Well, now is the time for the Raiders tonight on Monday Night Football to play a game, put on a show, be competitive, let the outcome fall where it does, and then we're one day closer to the draft and free agency and all that. I told my wife today when I left the house, I mean, you know how much I love my job. And again, there are days where my tone isn't perfect, but then again, I'm not a priest. I'm not standing in front of I'm not speaking at a Fortune 500 banquet. I'm here tonight to tell you how I feel about this game. And I have never been down this road before. And I've been around and doing the pregame for some teams that had a record similar to this. But with Max being out, everything that's happening, all the background noise, it's not going to be difficult to do my job tonight, but it's going to be very unique because I've never been in an atmosphere like this in Vegas, and especially Vegas. For those who think the Raiders are terrible and the Raiders stink and they have 2 wins, I get where you're going. But since the team moved here, it's been around a 500 team at times, made the playoffs once, had some really good players, always been competitive, had a franchise record 63 points, beat Drew Brees, Lamar Jackson in primetime games. Right, has had some pretty big events go on here. Really has. There have been some great events. The Chandler Jones interception for a touchdown, right? Walk-off touchdowns. Zay Jones. There's been some moments here where you look at and say, man, that's a good memory. But there hasn't been many this year. And there's 3 out of the final 4 games are at home. A lot of people are holding on to tickets. And, I just hope you go to the game and have fun tonight. 702-365-9200. 702-365-9200. 15 minutes into the show. And here we go again. So that's why I'm doing 1 hour today. Q's going to do it from the torch. I'll pick up speed, and I'll come in there ready to roll. So you got Max Crosby as a big topic today, and your expectations on the product that you're going to see. Because you've seen effort. You can't debate me that there's no effort. You can't. So don't call in and say, well, they're going to tank it. No, they haven't. They've proven that. They shut everybody up with that. They're losing at a remarkable pace. They really are losing at a remarkable pace. But the tough topic here today is, they're going to play hard. Atlanta's lost 4 in a row. You're also familiar with the fact that Atlanta, Kirk Cousins in the last 4 games has 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So with all that happening here, I don't know what we're walking into tonight. Because Atlanta's not playing very well, but they got to like the opponent. They really got to like the opponent saying, man, we caught a break. When this game came out on the schedule, we had to go to Vegas in the final quarter of the season. Don't know what's going to happen. And now you feel like you get an easy win there. And I don't know. The Raiders play everybody pretty tough. Every game's a score. It feels like going into the fourth quarter. It's 14-10 or it's 17-14, whatever the score is. The Raiders find a way to be in these games, but they're not able to put it over the top. So I'm very interested on what your expectations are tonight for the product on the field. You know you have Sincere McCormick. You know you have Desmond Ridder. You got Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers, and Trey Tucker. You got Jackson Powers-Johnson. You got Colton Miller. You get a young offensive line that's trying to save their lives and jobs for the future and be here. So with all that being said, you got Robert Spillane, Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones, competitive guys. Trayvon Merrick playing well this year. I wonder what your experience is going to be like. And then finally, the tailgating and all that. I think, look, this tailgating is nowhere near Oakland because Oakland was just different. We know that. But there'll be a lot of people out there tonight early, and I would go early if you're going to go. If you're going to walk over the bridge. Oh, the Black Hole is walking over the bridge. The March to Victory with Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson's going to do that. That's pretty good. I spent the weekend. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I spent a lot of time this weekend with Fred Bolitnikov and his wife, Angela. And we were at dinner at Chef Barry's Steakhouse at Circa. And I'm sitting with Fred watching the Heisman as the guy who won the Bolitnikov Award, won the award named after Fred, is getting the award. That was wild. That was wild to be sitting with Fred Bolitnikov, watching Travis Hunter, who just won the Bolitnikov Award, win the Heisman, and another guy in Freddie's tree of wide receivers there. Then, Bobby, you love the story. We're sitting down, and all of a sudden, Tony Orlando, the legendary entertainer, sits down with us. And we did a good 20 minutes with him. He opened up for Elvis. I said, Tony, I go, what was the biggest audience you had on television? And he goes, well, for a while, we were doing a 34 share. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, 34 million. I go, what? He goes, yeah, there were only 3 channels, the 3 networks. And I go, how'd you know what your number was? And this is Tony Orlando. If you don't know what that is, if you're younger, Tony Orlando and Dawn, they had a variety show, a weekly show that killed. It was just unbelievable. And he said, I always knew because I'd go into the lunchroom, the commissary, and sit down on the set, and Michael Landon would be there. And Michael Landon was a star of a show called Little House on the Prairie. And it was either Tony Orlando and Dawn or Little House on the Prairie. And Michael Landon would go, what'd you do? And he goes, I did a 36. Mike, what'd you do? I did a 34. Half the country was watching 2 television shows that night at the same time. And I heard that story. And then he told us some good Elvis stories. It was fun. We had a good weekend there. And then a couple of holiday parties, golfed yesterday. Monday night football tonight. The Golden Knights won. We'll have some sound coming up from that. So that's where we're going to go here. Yeah, it's rough sledding. It is. Okay, but you're not getting rough sledding from me. You're going to get everything I got. 702-365-9200. You can watch on YouTube. Here you'll notice I don't have 6 co-hosts or 3 or 2 or 1 co-host. Just Bobby and me here. So we'd like to hear from you. Josh Allen had an amazing game again. I think he solidified the MVP, went into Detroit and won the game. His rushing stats are incredible, and he's a pretty good quarterback with a big arm.
Going to roll out to his right. Allen's going to throw it to Davis, and he's into the end zone for a 5-yard touchdown reception. Allen with his second passing touchdown of the game. And with that passing touchdown, Allen has become the first quarterback in the NFL to have 25 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns in 5 consecutive seasons. He is a touchdown machine.
He's got 11 rushing touchdowns. Joe Burrow's got better stats as a quarterback, but he doesn't have the rushing stats. So I think Josh Allen winning that game in Detroit probably won the MVP award, which is a really good award. The 2 biggest awards, 3 biggest awards you can win in the NFL are Walter Payton Man of the Year, the regular season MVP award, and the Super Bowl MVP. Those are the 3 biggest ones. I'm pulling for Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. I picked Detroit. I didn't pick Buffalo because the last couple of years I have, and they come up short. But I'd love nothing more than to see Detroit and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I'd like to keep out Philly and Kansas City. I repeat, I did this last night on my national Mad Dog show. I'm just losing my blank on Kansas City. Like every time they play, they win because they either have a crappy opponent like yesterday, or they do a doink off the field goal. They make a field goal off the upright, or someone doesn't get an inch of a second toe in bounds, or the ref calls a flag and gives them a penalty and it sets up their field goal. Mahomes got injured yesterday. It's a big topic today around the NFL.
8:01 to go in the game. Chiefs by 2 touchdowns. Mahomes steps up. Jump pass incomplete. Browns will take over on downs at their own 39. And Mahomes, who had the jump pass, he gets up and is limping off the field. Remember, in the 2020 playoffs, he suffered a concussion against the Browns as Mahomes is limping off the field. He tried another one of those jump passes. He's been hit a lot.
Yes.
Especially the last 6 weeks. Those hits take their tolls. He comes to the sideline.
Chiefs radio on the call. So they got a problem there. What I would do, and I don't play professional quarterback and I'm not a coach, but what I would do is shut down Mahomes for a week. Just for 1 week. They played the Texans. The Texans are already in the playoffs. They're not catching Kansas City. But the Texans want to beat Kansas City because they're probably going to play them again. And you'd like to have a win under your belt just mentally to say you did it. So I'd shut Mahomes down for a week. They end at Denver. That could be a huge game for Denver. I think what you do with Mahomes is you give him the week off for the ankle, and you get him off his ankle, have him rest up. And then if they lose the game, if they only have a 1-game lead, if Kansas City's lead in the AFC for that home field is down to 1 against Buffalo, you play Mahomes the rest of the year. If you win this game without Mahomes, with the high ankle sprain, you probably don't play him the next week. Why would you want to do that? You want Mahomes to get the bye week now if you're Kansas City. God, if Buffalo didn't lose to the Rams 2 weeks ago, Buffalo would be a game out. Mahomes injured. I think Buffalo would have tracked them down. I really do. You know what Buffalo plays in their next 3 games? They only got 3 games left. They played the Jets and the Patriots twice. They played the Patriots twice in the final 3 weeks, home and away. So Buffalo is going to be that number 2 seed. I thought the Packers' win last night was great against Seattle. Seattle takes a step back, and maybe the biggest win of the weekend was the Rams, because what the Rams did beating the Niners and knocked the Niners out and put the Rams in first place. Coaching matters, everybody. Sean McVay had a 1-4 football team. 1-4. Raiders were 2-2. Sean McVay at 1-4 has got them in the playoffs. He's done a nice job. Really nice job. Got to give him a lot of credit there. All right, that's a monologue brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Tito's is my go-to vodka here throughout the holidays. Get yourself a Tito's when you get to a restaurant, a lounge, a bar, or bring it home. Tito's, one of the great American success stories. They help fuel our monologue. So it's just me. 25 minutes, I'm shut out. Maybe we can do that to Atlanta tonight. First 25 minutes, shut them out, and then Raider Nation, you get what you get at the end. You win or lose the game. But I'm ready to roll today. I'm on my way to the stadium in 35 minutes. Jump on in. I hope to see you at the Torch. Come on to the Torch tonight. Should be a nice crowd. I think they're going to hand us an alumni or two. I'm sure the entertainment's going to be there. The vibe of Monday Night Football in Las Vegas. Only once this year. And hopefully more next year. I don't know. I don't know if the league's going to be good to us with the schedule. The league doesn't seem to be friends of ours because we had to wait this long for Monday Night Football.
It's the morning ticket.
Jacoby Myers is the only wide receiver since 2000 to have 95-plus targets in a season and have a drop percentage of 0.0.
Okay. Imagine doing a radio show in December on a Monday and no one engaging and everybody's just taking the day off. That's nice, huh? Gotta love that.
That's incredible.
Gotta love that.
Weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Gorilla Rilla texted me. He's listening. Loves the show.
Enjoy classic breakfast items and new favorites. Tres Leches French toast, breakfast tacos, steak and eggs, and more. Catch every plate on 50 big screens with the epic sound. Chickies and beats at the oldest Sahara Las Vegas offers 20 beers on tap, premium spirits, and free parking. Join us for the ultimate Sunday breakfast.
All right, what's going on here?
Visit SaharaLasVegas.com for
I hope KC's luck is our. Oh, Lee Sterling, 1-2. That's a rough weekend. That's not a good weekend. The Ty says the league freaking hates us. I'm cool with that.
But it doesn't stop with them. The guys who deliver and set up your bed are just as respectful and helpful.
Well, no, I don't agree, Messi, Jesse. There's plenty to talk about. I gave you Brock Bowers, Monday Night Football, Max Crosby. That's the problem. Too many people can't understand that there is more to do other than the draft. How about Max Crosby being out for the year? That's a national topic. Nationally. If Pat McAfee's talking about it, we should be able to fucking talk about that for a few minutes too, right? That shouldn't be difficult. Should be real easy to talk about Max Crosby for 5 minutes. He's one of the best players in the league. He's out. Oh, Bobby, I dropped an F-bomb. I didn't think that would happen today. Dr. Dune's keeping an eye on Tyree Wilson. Yeah, Brock needs more than 7 tonight. 7 would be an embarrassment.
Hey, Harry, how you doing, pal?
Hi, sports fans, it's the herd. In sports, we often talk about a difference maker. Well, in business,
It's all set. This is,
Okay.
here's-
Harry Ruiz, the Latino voice of the silver and black.
you get the 4 country difference. Free dent, scratch, and windshield repair, and key replacement for a full year. In addition to great service and unbeatable pricing, you get game-changing protection exclusively at 4 country in the Valley Auto.
Yeah, Pat McAfee today on his show had Schefter about Monday Night Football, and basically ESPN was saying it's tough to watch the product on an ESPN broadcast.
Yeah.
You normally don't hear that.
No.
They're showing some B-roll from from Mandalay Bay, House of Blues.
Nearly all charities raise 50% of their needs.
David Montgomery out for the season. Man, that hurts for Detroit.
$1 helps this holiday season.
Hi, what's your name?
That keeps on giving year-round. Donate to your favorite
Okay,
charity.
Dan, I'll get you in a few minutes. Hold on.
This message is brought to you by Road and Row. Voted best person.
ESPN is ruined.
702-877-1500.
Yeah, I think they'll get the ball to Brock tonight. Yeah.
Yes, to get the record on Monday Night Football.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ice, action, cruise, a natural hat trick. Nighttime hockey bar at M Resort. M Resort, the official team headquarters hotel of the Henderson Silver Knights.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
Yeah, all of them. I think, again, last week was a great example. When the team goes all out to try to take away Brock, Big Mike shows up, right? And that's going to be the same thing throughout the season. 12 personnel is our best personnel. And, they got to find ways to match up, and we got to find ways to keep moving Brock around and being creative with him because we got to feed him the ball. Because when we do that, good things happen for the Rams.
Yeah, there's no excuse not to get Brock Bowers the ball. He's got a couple of milestone records there. Now, you don't have to get it to him at the line of scrimmage on every play. I'm not talking about, 1 yard or 2 yard in routes. I'm talking about, let's get elaborate with Brock. Put him in motion, line him up wide. There's going to be a couple of double teams coming and throw him some 50-50 balls. Okay, the big thing that I want to see from Scott Turner and Desmond Ridder tonight is if Brock is double teamed, go to Brock. Don't give me any of this. Well, we couldn't go there. They were doing this with Brock. No. No. Don't give me any, Brock came out of the huddle. There's a safety over the top. There's a linebacker on him. Too bad. You run the play. He's going to beat the linebacker. He'll be one-on-one with the safety. That's the one thing we better get tonight. At the price of these tickets and what it costs to get in that building, we got to get a Brock Bowers show. Do we all agree on that? All of us should agree on that. There should be No hesitation. Harry Ruiz is calling the game, the Latino voice of the Raiders. Harry, I'm looking for 12 targets and 10 receptions that you call on at least one Harry Ruiz touchdown. How does that sound?
I mean, it would be great. Brock Bowers, his 4 touchdowns this season have all been on the road, so it's time to get a Brock Bowers in the end zone here in Las Vegas. It's about time, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a Harry Ruiz fun fact. Do you like him in the slot, in motion, or playing traditional tight end and breaking off the line of scrimmage? What have you noticed as you're calling these games?
That's the beauty with Brock Bowers. Anywhere you line him up, he's productive and he's a beast. So I have no issue with having him wide, having him inside, having him as a tight end. He has been improving as a blocker as well. So I've been liking what I've seen from Brock Bowers everywhere. And heck, right across the field on the bench, he's going to be looking at Kyle Pitts waiting to get on the field once the Raiders defense goes on the field. And you're talking about him, Pitts, and Mike Ditka being the only the only tight ends to ever reach 1,000 yards as rookies. So right here is a game where Brock Bowers can reach that milestone and just keep on improving in his career. And he's, I mean, in my opinion right now, he's the best tight end in football. Now, can you imagine if he had some consistency in the quarterback position? This is going to be potentially his 3rd starting quarterback that he has played with in 2024, his rookie year.
Yes, Harry Ruiz joins us. You make an interesting point about Pitts. I got a buddy of mine who's an Atlanta fan. He's a Georgia football fan in Atlanta, and he texts me every week that Pitts doesn't get the targets. It's like, what are we doing with this guy? We got one of the best tight ends ever as a rookie, and they forget about him. And I thought that the former regime completely forgot about Michael Mayer, but not Scott Turner. In this regime, he made sure that Mayer got a lot of targets. Now, most of them were in the 4th quarter and on that final drive. But Big Mike ended the game in the last game with some momentum. I hope they go back to him early and often.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the virtues and benefits for the Raiders, having Brock Bowers now being your number 1 weapon. We can't even say tight end 1. He might be the number 1 weapon overall he is the number 1 weapon overall for the Silver and Black. That's going to open opportunities for players like Jacoby Myers. That's going to open opportunities like Michael Mayer, who didn't have, before the game last Sunday, JT, a game with over 2 receptions or 11 yards in 2024. So him being able to have that career high receptions and his second best career game in yards against Tampa Bay with 7 receptions and 68 yards, that's going to increase his confidence. And also, you saw him flying on the field. I think that was some unnecessary risk, jumping and trying to leap over players and potentially taking hard hits, but he ain't scared of them. So that's something great with Michael Mayer, and hopefully he gets another big opportunity today against an Atlanta defense that you look over at their numbers, and they're a defense that's struggling in 2024.
Harry Ruiz is our guest, Latino voice of the Raiders. So I know you got the news on Max Crosby. What went through your mind calling the games and seeing the way Max played this year, knowing his ankle wasn't 100%?
His ankle wasn't 100%, but he was giving his 120% every single time he stepped out on the field. He wouldn't lose. He wouldn't miss any plays. He wouldn't miss any snaps. He'd try to be there for his team as much as possible. But I think this is a prudent and smart decision. If the team is out of playoff contention, if the team is only fighting for its pride, let's say it that way, it's like, you know what? We want you to be with this squad long term. We want you to be Mad Max, the Condor, the best defensive player in the Raiders for years to come. Let's shut you down. Let's get that surgery early. Let's not wait until mid-January or late January. Let's get a month head start on that schedule and have your recovery be as close as possible to finish by the time that training camp starts next year or this regular season starts next year. It sucks. I hate not calling a game without Max Crosby, something I've only done once in my career when it comes to NFL football, but I think it's the smartest thing to do at this point.
Harry Ruiz is our guest. So Aiden is injured, clearly. Desmond Ritter's next man up. He threw a beautiful touchdown to Brock Bowers, beautiful, earlier this season. I can't wait to see what he has. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. This is an audition for him. I do not expect him to be back with the Raiders. I could be wrong. I think Aiden's going to be the backup. I think they're going to get a rookie star, high draft pick. That's what everybody else hopes, or a veteran who's elite, coming off an elite season. So this is an audition for Ritter tonight. And I'm telling you, if he's got any juice and any wheels, he's going to be running for first downs, diving out of bounds, trying to do something to put it on tape.
JT, this is an audition for Desmond Ritter and a lot of players on the roster that want to continue with the silver and black or that want to continue their careers in the NFL. Look at players like Halavon Chason that came into the season on the practice squad. He made his debut with a couple of snaps in week 1, but not a lot of playing time. Now he's looking like a guy that more than likely is going to be on a roster in 2025 because of what he's done the last couple of weeks. But yeah, Desmond Ritter, we also got to make sure that he feels more comfortable because he has played way less snaps than Aiden O'Connell, and he has the same amount of sacks against him in those limited amount of snaps that he's been on the field. So we need to protect him. He needs to be more aware of his surroundings when it comes to who's coming through what side. Fortunately, the Falcons, they're the team with the least amount of sacks in 2024.
Right.
So hopefully the offensive line stands up to them and is able to protect Desmond Ritter if he's the guy playing today. But I'll be honest, I